Oh, yes, it's a Friday night sports show, and Jace and the Flowman. I'm going to ask you this, Jace.
Excuse me for a minute while I get a mouthful of pickle juice.
Thank you very much. I tell you, it's a sour note for me, and this is because the AFL has now interfered with the game at another level. Apparently, you can't spit the old pickle juice out onto the ground anymore. You have to have a spittle to spit it in, and this is for all those uneducated in pickle juice. Pickle juice has got vinegar in it, and the green pickles, or cucumbers as they begin their life as before they're pickled, actually go into a jar, and they use this pickle juice for avoiding cramps, particularly late in the game. And players actually take a swig, gargle it back, goes into the bloodstream pretty quickly, and of course they're pretty excited and happy to get back out there and play. And I'll tell you what, when you have a bit of the old vinegar in the mouth, she freshens you up real quickly, I tell you.
I'll
Wait
bet.
to see up. The old smelling salts, you know.
Bet, yeah.
But the AFL, what have they done? They've now said that you can't spit it out on the oval because of complaints from groundsmen that they're getting little yellow patches on the ground where the pickle juice is drying and burning the grass.
Well, there you go. I thought it might have been COVID-related. Just sliding through a big chunky batch of someone else's pickle juice. Thank you very much. If you're trying to take a mark on your chest and you come up covered in vinegar, that doesn't impress me much. But look, I've got to say, pickle juice. Surely we've come a long way in sports science now, where we could replicate the effect of said pickle juice in some sort of substance, be it a paste, be it something that one can ingest, maybe orally, maybe, I don't know, wherever you need to take it. Some sort of orifice could be filled with some sort of liquid or paste to at least alleviate the cramping issues that we've got. But still, today, we're relying on some dill in a jar to keep us rehydrated. I don't understand it, Flowman.
Some dill at the AFL making decisions, I think. Hey, look, I tell you, I'm just cramping up in the leg here. So, have some pickle juice, please,
Goodness
producers.
me. Surely someone in a lab somewhere can come up with something. But I must say, I'm with the groundsman on this one.
I'll tell you what, you got some lime, is that lime or pickle juice in this
pickle
Schweppes
juice.
bottle?
That's right, I bought it in especially.
Is that how hard you reckon we're going to go on the show tonight?
I was going to spit it on the carpet, but then I was told that it might damage the carpet.
The brand new media said, we'll have a complaints department from the groundsman of the carpet area here, that's for sure.
Well, if they all lined up and did it in the one area, maybe it'd save them on line marking costs. So let's think outside the square here, but gee whiz, they got some work to do. Surely we can do something to help these players with cramp.
I'll tell you, there's plenty of options, but very, very interesting, that one. I want to ask you about Greater Western Sydney, the Western Bulldogs, the AFL match. We mentioned earlier about how well the Bullies are going in Footscray terms in the VFL. They get the Giants, who've got a couple of good ins. Perryman, the boy from Collingully, comes in, as does another boy from out in the river end of New South Wales from Narrandera. Matt Flynn gets a call up for the big Mummy, who drops out of the Greater Western Sydney side.
Mummy's being managed, and they'll do this all year long. They basically did this with Sam Jacobs last year. Mummy, two or three games, then needs a spell. Sam Jacobs come in, played a couple of games. Then the rotation system will continue. That's how they'll blood Flynn this year, and then hopefully he'll be the lead ruckman next year. But make no mistake about this. Forget about what GWS are doing at the moment. They were pretty good last week in their win over the Swans, so they're up and about at the moment. But if the grand final was played this weekend, the Western Bulldogs are beating anyone. That's how well they've started the season.
Well, the coach of Richmond had something very interesting to say about this. He said, we don't want to peak too early.
And that's the question I have, is whether or not maybe can they play at this level over 22 weeks and then 4 weeks of finals, and we'll find out.
I tell you what, I reckon that the coach of Richmond's on the pickle juice, because he's had too much of it, I think, because a win's a win, for goodness sake. If you're a coach of an AFL side, you'll take every win right now, whether it's now or at the end of the season, and you're peaking. I reckon it's jealousy from Hardwick over the way in which the boys out of the Western Bulldogs are going.
I disagree. History tells us the minor premiers don't win premierships, Flowman. It's about the best team in September, and I think he's onto something. All
right, the best team has omitted a whole heap of players, as you mentioned earlier, and one of them is young Lachlan McNeil, who is a boy from the mid-north of South Australia, and good to see Lin Jong getting back into the senior side. He's a very good player. Caleb Daniel, of course, wears the helmet, is an absolute gun around their packs, and he was out with that suspension. Geelong play the West Coast, and it's a big match to be played Saturday. I reckon the West Coast can win down at Geelong.
No.
All right.
No. I don't think they can because they just can't seem to play outside of Perth at the moment, this group.
All right, I'll take the pickle juice on this one. And Sydney Swans play the Gold Coast this one on Saturday at Metricom. This is going to be a beauty. I reckon that this is really Stuart Dew's. I reckon it's his calling week. If he doesn't win this game, then all the talk and everything, the improvement, it's all worth absolutely nothing. He's got to beat the Sydney Swans this weekend at Metricom on his own deck.
At some point, yes, they've got to stop worrying about being competitive and start winning games. And they weren't competitive last week. That's a danger game for the Swans. Don't worry about that. They'll be up and about the Suns, but I think the Swans will be too good.
Carlton didn't show enough last week. Brisbane starting to show that they were a preliminary finalist of 2020. I reckon at Marvel it will be hard to pick Carlton here.
I think Joe Danaher will absolutely get hold of Carlton at Marvel. Carlton, for mine, I'm not sure where they're at. I don't think they know where they're at. It's at some point they have to be honest with themselves, but the Brisbane Lions for me.
They leak a lot of goals out of a fairly lightweight defence, in my opinion. I don't think they've got any real tall gun defender that can match up on the Brisbane Lions forwards, and I reckon Hipwood will kick a bag because Foyle will be in his case. Melbourne play Richmond. This is the match of the round. Richmond, after a massive thumping of St Kilda last week, Melbourne have been unbelievable. They are back to the form that carried them to a prelim final 3 years ago.
Couldn't agree more. This is the Anzac Eve clash, and the scenes before the game, if you haven't seen one of these before, they're amazing.
Yeah.
They've turned this into a real event, and not only now is it a real event, but it's going to be a real contest, and that's what I can't wait to see. Melbourne it's like the up and comer. The future champion, perhaps, taking on the old guard. Yeah. And I can't wait to see how Melbourne stack up against a Richmond side that should be there again when the whips are cracking.
Fremantle can win at home comfortably over North. They won't want to take him lightly, but I saw Fremantle in the flesh at the Adelaide Oval last weekend, and they have come a long way. You may not know many of the Fremantle players. They don't have a household list apart from Fife and probably Bundy and a couple of other really good players, but Walters and so on. But they are the real deal. Mark my words, they move the footy beautifully, and they are tall, and they are quick for tall players. And look out North Melbourne, because I reckon the Dockers at home.
They should win, and these are traditionally the games that Fremantle lose. So I'm going to tip Freo, though.
But Hawthorn at home at Launceston, they play the Crows. Crows have lost, I reckon, one of their best up-and-coming players. This is a real test for Adelaide Crows right now. Not just Walker's fitness test, but there is a real test here because they have lost Berry. He, in my opinion, watching him in the flesh, he broke lines. He did more than Seedsman on the other wing. He, to me, is the player that they needed, and he's done his ankle. And Hawthorn, for mine, I reckon, will beat the Crows down in Tasmania.
Hawthorn have got injury concerns of their own, and they are treading water. You know what? In this game, it actually doesn't matter from a Crows point of view who actually gets the job done. Neither of these two sides are going to play finals, in my opinion. But Hawthorn are in danger of going into the abyss. And if they lose this game down in Tasmania to the Crows, who don't play very well down there, you can pencil Hawthorn into bottom four. Yeah,
the Crows will have their thermals, that's for sure. Should be cold this weekend with a southerly coming through. Essendon and Collingwood should be an MCG classic. Essendon, I reckon, actually can beat Collingwood here.
For the first time in a long time, I'm going to say this about Anzac Day. This isn't going to be the premier match of the round. The premier match of the round will be the night before. Melbourne-Richmond, Anzac Day Eve, similar sort of feel. It'll be eerie, but the reality is for both of these clubs, I'm sorry to Collingwood and Essendon supporters listening now, but you're irrelevant. Nobody cares. Both clubs have had that much off-field drama. Nobody's interested other than the supporters of these two clubs because, for me, this Anzac Day clash now has just lost all of its sheen. Both clubs are terrible lists. They're rubbish. They're not well coached. And I don't think it's going to be anywhere near one of the matches of the round. It could be close. It may be a couple of goals in it, but it's not going to be entertaining.
Absolutely. Port Adelaide play St Kilda at the Adelaide Oval in the night match, and Saints have been dreadful. I don't know what they can bring to the table now. Port Adelaide have been superb. Only that Lockie Jones, the boy from Butte's, out of their side. That's the most disappointing news part story because everyone just thinks Port Adelaide are going to romp home in this game.
And they should. St Kilda have been absolute rubbish. You're exactly right. Maybe maybe that Collingwood-Essendon game might be the best game on the Sunday, but it's not going to be the game of the round. Port win by plenty.
Oh, let's get off the pickle juice and on to the program here at the Friday Night Sports Show. It is the Flowman with the Statman.